Okay, good afternoon, good morning, everyone, wherever you're watching us from. Hey, it's nice to have you here. You're welcome to today's episode of the Analytics Podcast. My name is Ijoma Obachi, and we're going to be discussing if it is better to specialize or to just remain versatile in tech. And today I have a guest. We have the one and only, the best person to have this conversation with right now is Mr. Shego. He's going to introduce himself shortly. Okay. So, Shegun, over to you. Who are you, please? May we meet you?
Okay,
May we know you?
all right. So my name is Oluwasegun Akinshola Lawrence, and most people call me Lawrence, and I am a senior product manager. And I think that was me. Okay, I'm married. I have two lovely sons and a supportive wife. You know how tech can be. It takes a toll on you. You hardly get enough time to sleep and all of that. Yeah, so you need as much support as you can get from loved ones around you, basically. So yeah, professionally, I've been working for over 13 years. In tech specifically, I have over 8 years experience. And yeah, this is me. And thank you for having me on this episode.
Thank you for joining us. It's such an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for gracing us. So, I'd like to ask how you got into tech. Just give us the backstory. How did you get into tech? What exactly made you think, okay, tech is for me?
All right. So it's actually a long story. I'm not sure we would have enough time, but I'll try to maybe just summarize. So I have
Okay.
a friend. His name is Tosin Rimogunja. Usually, Mucha is swimming. I hope he doesn't see this. I used to work at Flutterwave, right? And I was into farming. I had studied microbiology, finished my service 2015. So, but then I went into farming. I was doing um, parent stock for birds, basically. You breed birds such that, and when I say birds now, I mean chickens, right? So, but then he had already he actually did computer science, I think, or computer engineering, one of the two. And I was like, guy, it's interesting what, of course, I've always have flair for anything that has to do with technology, being also into science myself. So, and I knew he was doing tech. So I told him I wanted to come and get into tech. And he was like, why not? And all I needed was just go and stay with him for about a couple of months. He had internet, he had all of the facilities. But then I kept postponing and postponing. And that was 2016, 2017. I didn't get to go and learn. He was a front end engineer then. I think he's a full stack now. And I didn't get to go and do it 2016, 2017. But then the economy happened. I would want to say maybe Buhari happened. And I I lost a whole lot of money in terms of my business, my farm, um, all the entrepreneurship skill didn't come to play when the economy happened. And yeah, I got into a very, very serious situation and I knew I could do something for myself. Of course, I have always been more into um, businesses, more into trying to build stuff by myself, right? Using skills that I've learned over a period of time. So I thought, okay, why not? Let me get serious with this, right? So I started a product management um, school. I enrolled. It was Access Bank. I hope I'm allowed to mention brand names though. It was Access Bank that partnered with Udacity for a scholarship program across Africa where they were training for different tech roles, right? And I saw product management and I felt okay. I didn't actually know what product management was in to a large extent, right? Of course, I was already conversant with stacks like, or maybe front and back end, let me just say front and back end. And I was thinking, okay, since I have somebody that I can still go and learn front end from, right? Let me just do something else. So I knew what data analysis was. I knew what data science was. I didn't know the practicality of it though. But then I saw product management and I was like, okay, this is interesting. I could influence the entire life cycle of all these ideas that I have in my head, even if I'm not the one that's going to build them directly, right? I said, okay, why not? So I did the entrance exam. I got in, I got the scholarship. And yeah, that was how I got into tech. And luckily for me, around the time that we were about to finish the program, Alt School also started um, their first initial program, right? Yeah, we're like the first set, right? Yeah. And then I now got another scholarship. Of course, I had no, no, no. It wasn't a scholarship. I actually paid the entrance fee, which was about 10,000. Right? But then I had the option of, or what we had actually got into it was they they marketed it as a platform where you would actually be able to get a job at the end of it, and you don't get to pay for you don't get to pay for the tuition during the course of the program. You get to pay for the tuition, once you have finished your program and you had gotten a job, and you could even spread the payments. So then I figured, okay, let me do product management on one side. I was already getting into programs, doing changes and the likes, right? But then I was also still trying to get that training to get into a more technical role, so to say, being a front end person. So yeah, so that was how I got into tech. I was lucky, unfortunate.
Wow, that was such a journey. Well
Yeah,
done.
thank you.
But when you started, what made you think, okay, project management? I know you touched a little bit on it, but what was the deciding factor for you? Because it seemed like you specialized immediately.
Yeah. So and this might come off as maybe being um too maybe desperate, right? But what made me say, oh, product management was I got a job in product management with a foreign company. Oh, it was product marketing role, right? Actually, it was a product marketing role. But because it was a foreign organization, right? There was that leverage for me to quickly apply what I had learned in product management into product marketing. Yes, the role on paper was product marketing, but I was actually doing product management, right? I was in charge of the release of it was the name of the company is called Foreign Brief. Shout out to Daniel Rice, by the way. He recruited me, and I had just found the application. I was going through. So when I was doing um, my program at all school, right? Because of the fact that I had much time on my hands, right? I had focused that I wanted to do tech. I finished my product management courses. I've gotten my certification. Luckily for me, although I didn't get the job because at the end of the Access Bank partnership with Versatility, you could be one of the few people that Access Bank also recruited into their business. But I didn't get an interview, right? But I finished the program. Um, about 500 of us finished. Yeah, 500 across Africa, yes. Which about 5,000 got into, I think. And I had that certification. I was doing other courses by the side. Also, Product School, shout out to them. I was doing some of their free courses, going to their webinars online, of course. And then I was still focusing on front end, which I was learning with all school. But then, first semester has almost ended. I needed money. I needed money to be able to continue the program. Of course, learning tech is not cheap. Anything education is not actually cheap, I think. Actually, if you want to do it properly, you have to be able to get resources, have access to those resources that would um, make you catch up. Because I was playing catch up basically. Tech had already gone so far ahead, especially for we in Nigeria that we were just discovering, or maybe I'll personalize it. Someone like me that was now very, very particular about this being my make or break career because I had tried other things, right? So saying that I needed money, I was applying for jobs using my product. I'd also done digital marketing, Google digital marketing. I actually got a scholarship for that also. I did it through Coursera. And so I had two certifications already. I had the experience because I had worked on projects during my training. Of course, it was a very hands-on training process. So I started applying And fortunately for me, I got an internship opportunity on Foreign Brief. I saw their website. I applied, and they called me for an interview. It was like a dream. I hadn't thought that my first role will actually be with a foreign company. And then there was no when I joined, there was no African, no black person on the team, right? It was a small team, right? I think about 15 or so, with different people across the world, right? But there was nobody from Africa. And first stage of interview, second stage, met the CEO, of course, virtually, and they agreed to take me on, right? As that when they took me on, it wasn't supposed to be a paid role. But then I explained to them that this internship opportunity, fine, I would maybe gain more from it because it was going to be my first practical, hands-on, being in a team structure, right? And also my first role in tech officially. But then I needed money to also be able to do other things, right? So I spoke to Daniel Rice, and he told me it wasn't their policy as at that point to pay intern, but because of how they say closed mouths would not get fed, right? Because of how maybe I had the audacity to ask, he agreed to, and decided $100. I can never forget. That was, I still have. It used to be Western Union. That 2019. This was 2019 actually, yeah. And I was like, wow. So this is 2018, 2019, yeah. This is actually a dream come true. I could actually earn from it, and that was how I thought. Okay, I sent a long episode to all school that I wanted to defer my training because I had gotten a job in product management. That was how I stopped learning for front-end engineering, and I focused on product management. But then through my journey, or up until that point till now, I had found out that everything compounds, right? What I learned, the little I learned about JavaScript, React, because we had actually built, whether it was very, very small bio data website, so we had built it then. We had also done a project for our first semester in all school, then JavaScript project. All of those things compounds, right? And because Foreign Brief allowed me to also still, like I told them that I was going to try to pursue other roles. They allowed me to, I was still applying for jobs. And luckily I got another opportunity with UBA as a business system analyst, right? I had applied as a product manager. But of course, I didn't have that much experience, and the business analyst role was open. And it was a cross-functional role that you could work within the team that had projects, that had products, that had other stakeholders and other technical people, right? So yeah, I was fortunate to also get in as a business system analyst. So all of the knowledge that I was able to apply from my own professional life to being a product manager to then having some form of training in front end and also the sort of resource that I was consuming, right, made me, I would say there's no one answer to whether you should specialize or you should be a generalist, right? At the end of the day, you would find out that yes, it is good for you to be um, known within a niche. That is, when your team, or maybe when somebody wakes up at 2 a.m. midnight and they think of a name that, oh, who can help us do a prototype, and does not have to be a technical person, the first thing that comes to their head is Oluwasegun, right? That is because, which is not necessarily a product, something you would have trained for as a product manager, right? But then, because you've started applying yourself across different tech space, right? Of course, initially when I got into tech, it was just product designers that would do prototype for you, right? But then over a period of time, even product managers themselves started to, from low fidelity designs to high fidelity, and thankfully to AI now came, you could prompt engineer your own prototype, right? And all of these things were not the basics of being a product manager. What you have to do as a product manager was maybe simple, right? You have to wear many hats, right? But then it was maybe simple because The end-to-end life cycle of a product was determined by you, and you had to manage that product even up until customers using them, right? It didn't necessarily include you helping to prototype solutions. It didn't actually help include you analyzing their business systems to an end. But yes, everything compounds at the end of the day. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. You did actually. I was going to ask you if it's better to specialize or remain versatile, but you kind of touched on that. So my next question to you is going to be, you know how they say jack of all trade, master of none. Does that apply to somebody who wants to be versatile? Because you're somebody who can do a lot of things, but when does it now become, oh, you're just curious about a lot of things in tech, as opposed to you lack depth?
Hmm. That's a very interesting question. So don't get me wrong, it is critical that you are very, very, very good within a certain niche. You can't trade that for anything, right? The versatility is the fact that you are informed and you can apply yourself through other fields. And I'll use myself as an example. So I am a product manager, right? I have worked in space that are majorly consulting firms. So you would imagine that a consulting firm that has a tech side or a technological arm, right, would most definitely not be product minded. They will most definitely be project minded because they will be building solutions for different businesses. They'll be building solutions based on requests that they've gotten from different businesses, right? Based on their consulting arms, right? They've consulted with maybe a bank, a financial institution, and those financial institutions need an application that does something, right? They get the contract, and you have to manage it as a project. When it gets to the bank, it can become a product for them. It's actually a product for them. But then, being a product manager now, you work within a space that, like that sort of space, whereby your company is a consulting company, right? And they get in this project, they don't necessarily need you to be a product manager on that project, right? What they need you to be at that point in time is a software project manager, meaning you are helping to manage them, or you're helping to manage a team that is going to build that product now. But for you as a company, for whatever consulting company that you are or that I am as at that point in time, I am working there as a software project manager, meaning I am able to define the business requirements that we've gotten from the clients, right? I'm also able to infuse that, oh, this should be the product PLD, basically the product requirements that would be needed for us to achieve what these business needs are, right? And of course, because you also understand that this is how the customers would relate to this product, of course, because you've done some research, you've spoken to the key stakeholders, right? Then you are applying versatility, meaning that you are not stuck with the fact that, oh, it has to be a product that I am managing end to end. I am the one that is doing all the research. I'm the one that is gathering the market responses. I'm the one that is doing the use case. No, you could work with, you could find yourself in a space that allows you to be able to, yes, you are still a product manager, but then you are not functioning as a product manager. Meaning you've been, of course, you've been specialized as a product manager, right? But then when there's a need for you to apply versatility in terms of maybe a business analyst functionality round, right? You can say, oh, this requirement may not function well based on one or two things that you've researched in the past, right? Or most recently. Also, being the fact that you understand how process flow works, right? You can advise your product design team, right? It doesn't mean that you are helping them design. You can never do it as best as those people that has actually been trained to design automations and all of those things, right? Or just Figma screens and the like, right? But then because you have a bit of knowledge, you have insight into, okay, what will happen, what should the system, the customer experience be in terms of when they are using the screen, right? And you can maybe now prototype it by yourself. Of course, you might be mixing indigo and wine together because you are not that color minded. You are not such a professional in terms of that, right? But you've done the prototype. Everybody can see that, oh, okay, this is how the feel should be. This is how the experience should be from the user side, right? You can then hand it over to a product design team, right? Those that are more specialized to get both the functionality and also the look to be perfect, right? It's easy for you to then collaborate. Meaning, we all are talking about AI and using LLMs now, right? It's something that helps everyone. Because now, even if you are a specialist in a field, right, you can apply that knowledge, that expertise that you have in that field. And I'm talking generally now, it doesn't even have to be tech, right? You can apply the experience you have, the expertise you have in that specific field. You can use it to now say, oh, what can be done in a field that you don't absolutely have what's the word now? You don't actually have expertise in, say maybe content creation now, right? You understand that, oh, people that do content can do this, they can do that, right? But then you as I've lost video. I'm hoping you can still hear me. Is it from my end? Please confirm that you can
I
still hear
can
me.
hear you. Can you hear me now?
Oh, okay, I can hear you. Yeah, just wanted to be sure.
Okay, great.
So,
Okay.
you can then apply that. Oh, being a back-end person, right, or being a front-end engineer, and this I've noticed that content creations or content creators do this and they do that, right? Is it possible that they can do it this way? You are then speaking to people that are now more informed about, oh, this is why we don't do it this way, right? With that, you are collaborating. If there's now a need for you to now be apply more of your own field knowledge, right? You can then, oh, okay, but this would actually work because this and this is what I've experienced over a period of time, right? And then it makes everything easier, especially when you're working within a team. It makes it easier. So yes, it is important that you're an expert within a specific field in tech, right? It is then important that you don't get stuck within that field. Get stuck in the sense that you are not trying to learn from other fields.
Mm. So essentially, specialize robots, know a little things about one or two.
Yes,
But my
correct.
next, I was going to ask if you like I hear it and I agree with you to a large extent. But have you ever had an experience where your specialization has cost you or limited you, and then being versatile has cost you an opportunity? Have you ever experienced
Mm.
that?
Okay, so it's been the other way around. My being versatile has made me open to other
More
opportunities, right? I
opportunities.
haven't
Oh
really
wow.
experienced, yes, I haven't really, yeah, maybe I've been fortunate. I haven't really had that part where, oh, because you're versatile. Yes, maybe in terms of workload, though, because they know, okay, and I'll give an practical example. So the advent of AI came, right? And we could now, product managers became more, and I'll say this, it was an in-house job. We became more like a demigod within our teams because now you're doing the research, you're talking to your customer experience team, you're talking to the stakeholders, you get all of these piece of puzzles solved, and by yourself you can go ahead and say, oh, let me even build this, right? Which was in the past not an area that most of us were particular about. What we're particular about is, oh, yes, we've gotten this research, we've gotten this feedback from the team, we've gotten this feedback from the users. Okay, we've put together a document, we've put together some user stories. These are the use cases. These are all the edge cases that we also have to account for. mobile engineering lead, or maybe even your CTO. Let's have a discussion around, let's have a joint application design session, a chat session where we are designing what the flow of the app should be, or what the flow of the solution should be, right? Or let's have a discussion where we are trading off ideas. But now, right? Or maybe earlier, because everybody, even our engineers do it now, but maybe 2 years ago, or maybe I would say 1 year ago, at when the adoption of LLMs became more rampant, right? Product managers now could say, oh, from the point of product ideation, right? Meaning that from you even thinking about, oh, this should be a feature that solves this issue, that solves these needs for our customers, right? To the point of production, which is maybe where you cannot deploy to your live app because you need your DevOps, you need some form of, depending on where you work actually, you need some form of stakeholders approval based on the policy of your company, of course, right? There are some businesses that allow non-technical roles to actually push to staging. Of course, you probably still need some approval before you can push to production, right? So now, people that got on it earlier, people like me that got on it earlier, we started building functional prototypes. That is, these prototypes could function from end to end. And what was powering the backend was basically LLMs, right? You had to integrate with your OpenAI keys or your Claude keys or maybe your Gemini keys, right? You build as simple as maybe a budget tracker, right? And you just build it for yourself because you understand that, oh, you need a budgeting tool that is not something you are paying for. That is also something that is comprehensive, that covers everything, that is a finance app. You just need it for budgeting, right? You do that, and because you have conversation with your team regularly, right? And you mention it to your CTO or your MD or whoever, your team lead, if you are not a team lead yourself, or maybe your product design team, right? There can now be an opportunity for a feature that you now have within your own product as a business, right? Or your operations, and or maybe even an internal tool that the teams needs, right? But instead of them to now hand it over to your usual software development lifecycle, the usual team that would say, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that before it gets through to design, for they can just hand it over to you as a product manager that now has that experience, that they know, has that expertise, that you've now specialized in now doing AI prototyping, right? That, oh, let's hand it over to Shegun. Let him build a functional prototype for us. Let's use this as a pilot within the business. Let's see over 2-3 weeks how the adoption is within teams, right? And with that, if it works well, there might be 1 or 2 iterations that need to be made. Then you are now handing it over to your engineering team properly, right? So in a way, it has allowed me personally to be open to more opportunities. Yes, in terms of maybe responsibilities now that you now get, right? Or that you now carry, because you are trying to, our job as a product manager actually involves us shielding the team from external interference. And when I say external, this external can also be internal. Internal in terms of our own internal stakeholders, because there can be pressure on your engineers. You want your engineers to function at optimal level. So those things that you can spare them off, right? Let them focus on building while you are focusing on all those ideation, all of those principles that might work and might not work, right? At the point of, oh, let's now have a collaborative conversation about how this can work. You can present that prototype that is already working. So yes, in terms of responsibility, you might be getting more responsibility, but in terms of opportunities also, I personally have gotten gigs separate from my 9 to 5, separate from my own products, right? Separate from all of this, that, oh, guy, I just need this prototype because I'm having a demo, because there are startups everywhere across the world now, right? I'm having a demo to some stakeholders and I need them to see something. I don't have the resource to go and hire all of these teams to build a prototype, right? But can you help me use one of those AI tools that you know how to use to build a prototype? Yes, and yeah, I said, okay, fine, let me be. I can even do it for free, depending on what the relationship is. Right? But in terms of opportunities, I have had more opportunities because, yes, I am a product manager, but then I have specialized, or maybe most recently, I have now specialized more in, say, AI implementations and AI development, using it to help better myself as a product manager. So yes, I've had more opportunities. Yes, again, to maybe now answer your question correctly, I can imagine that it would also, in a way, be critical to when there are now opportunities for maybe rules that are now product management specific, right? I might not be able to apply directly for them anymore because now my there's been a shift in my the interest I have in building products, right? I might not want to apply for the traditional product management role anymore. Seeing a business that says, oh, we are looking for a product manager that does this, that does that, and I go through the JDs, or maybe it's even a contract position, right? They want someone that can consult for them. And I go through it and I don't see anything that has my interest in terms of maybe AI, applying AI tools, right? I might not really be interested in it, right? Doesn't mean I cannot function as a product manager within that role, right? But because I have now become more specialized into applying all of the AI tools that I now know how to use very well, I don't want to go for roles that, I don't want to go into a build that does not have that anymore. So yes, in a way, yes, I can see it also, how it can affect. And of course, on the larger scale also, I imagine that it does affect.
Mm. That's a lot to think about and a lot to consider. I like that. Thank you so much for that
Yeah.
feedback. I really, really like how you broke it down. But you mentioned AI a few times, and that made me start thinking, if you're starting over today in an AI heavy world, would you specialize early or would you stay broad?
Hmm. Wow. So let me see. Okay. Again, I'll use my own personal experience, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I'm using my own personal experience. I think I would have still specialized. Because, and okay, the simple answer is because specialization early would have, or rather, it did help me sift, or what's the word, filter noises. Because there's a whole lot going on in AI space right now. There's a whole, I can't even keep up. Actually, like, I can't keep up anymore. So if you are now trying to say, I must be involved with this, I have to know how to do this using AI, of course, right? In this new AI world, right? Because it is now at your fingertips to be able to do all of this. You could do AI YouTube automations, you could do workflow automation, you could do a whole lot of this with AI, right? You might just spread yourself so thin that now the jack of all trades will now come into play, whereby you are not grounded in depth with any tech expertise, right? But if you specialize early, even within this AI space, so yes, I would have specialized early. It's just content writing that I want to content write, right? Such that, because there's a whole lot of AI slop content right now, right? It's even hard now. Sometimes I'll I'll tell AI to analyze something I wrote, a document I wrote 3 years ago. AI will be telling me that it was an AI that wrote this. I'm like, guy, how now? So yeah, with a lot of, I can now say, okay, oh, let me even specialize in just writing content using AI tools, such that it is what's what humanified in a way that, is that an English word? Such that you can't tell the difference whether it's written by a human 100% or if there was some form of AI help with it, right? That could be just the niche that I'll focus on, right? It doesn't then stop me that once I am grounded, I have depth within that. I can now start to apply it. Oh, okay. What if I want to use this for TikTok content marketing, right? How can I commercialize it still using AI? So yes, I would most definitely have wanted to specialize first. I would want.
Mm, interesting. Okay, but for anyone who is starting now, and there's lots of noise, like you said, and I agree 100% because so much, there's every day tech is the new, or every day learn this one if you want to make so much money. Would you advise
Yeah.
them to specialize or to just pick a little of everything?
Okay. So yeah, I'm speaking to in my role as a product leader. I have so many people now that want to get into product management, that wants to get into business analysis, that wants to get into software project management or manager. Even some that just want to get into tech, right? They come to me I have about 6 people now that we usually have a Saturday call every morning, about 2 hours, where I'm just helping them navigate their way through getting their first role as a product manager, right? Some of them have learned the basics, some of them are still learning, some of them just started learning through me, right? And one thing that I keep telling them is that tech becomes very useful for you when you have depth within an area, right? When you have knowledge within an area. And I'll use myself again as an example. So if at the point where I was trying to get into tech, I hadn't done startup myself. And when I say startup, okay, maybe not startup. If I hadn't done a business myself, right, that failed, I probably would have also failed in me trying to navigate my first 2 years in tech. Why? In as far back as 2012, right, I'd done business of with my aunts, right, with my uncles, people that trusted me to be able to, at least you were in school, but you could apply yourself because you are at least knowledgeable about the world. And of course, they wanted to also help you grow as a man and also as a human, right? They introduced you to say, oh, let's supply bricks for a construction project that was going on, right? I could see the pain point as far back as 2012, right? Of going to the site every day to count bricks, count the number of bricks that suppliers have brought. Imagine you are trying to supply, as at then, 1,005 bricks, right? Every day you go to the construction site to count. It's a heavy, and that's maybe the lighter part of even construction, right? So you've experienced some of this. You also know the amount of the amount of follow-ups you had to do because there was really no automation there in terms of reminding people about, oh, you need to supply this or you need to supply this. Our stock count is low to this extent now. You've experienced that in terms of in in an enterprise way, because of course for a construction project that you manage them or that I managed them was big, right? I could see that, oh, these were the pain points. I could see that, oh, what if we had done it this way? What if we had did it this way? Also, when I was getting trained in Ogbomoso for my to become a well-equipped farmer, so to say, right? I could see the experience of people that did night shift just to make sure that the best that we're trying to hash came out right, right? Even if there was an equipment, right? There was still another level of IoT that we didn't use then that over time in your head, you say, what if there was a tool that could help us monitor this, that could do this, and that could do that? So with time, you could see all of those gaps, right? And all of this, you've not even started thinking of the solution, but you already knew what the issues were. So you then coming into tech, you could now tell, okay, which one is it that I am passionate about that I can solve or I can help solve? So if you are passionate about maybe mathematics, for instance, right, and you found yourself in a role or you found yourself in a space that, oh, they are talking about learning Python, they're talking about learning SQL, right? Or maybe it's even data science or data engineering, right? Because you know that, oh, there is numbers game to this, right? Or maybe you even did finance and you know that, oh, there is a part of finance that you need to do a model that allows you to be able to predict what and what. Then when you're coming into tech as a finance person, Your go-to should not be that I want to go and be designing Figma. You want to go and become a product designer. Yes, you could decide you want to do that, which is fair, right? But I feel like your go-to should first be that place that you're already grounded. You already have some form of depth, such that by the time you are, because it all falls back, it all, like I said, it all compounds. By the time you are now having to apply that compounded knowledge, right? It is going to be A's for you. And when I say A, it means you are going to be a distinct sort of tech person, a distinct sort of data analyst, a distinct somebody that is not just basic, because you already have 13 years professional experience doing businesses, some that passed, some that failed, right? It's easy for you that you just entered tech in the last 6 years to now say, oh, when I was doing this as a production manager, that we're filling water into bottles or into maybe sachets. This was my experience. We didn't automate it like this. We didn't do it like this. What if we had an HR hospital that was able to help us? So you can then apply yourself because you already have that knowledge. And then it's even easy for you to solve for a specific field. You're not now trying to solve for the entire issues across the world. Now you're able to now define, oh, in pharmacy, these are the issues that we've experienced, right? Even if you are not the one that is going to be writing the code as maybe an engineer, right? But then you can guide the product managers. As a product owner, you can speak to your specific pain points because you have that industry knowledge. It's easy for you to then build requirements. It's easy for you to talk about the user stories and the use cases of different solutions. So I would really, really advise that if you are going into tech as a newbie, right? Yes, there's a whole lot of things that you could do, but I would advise that go into an area that you feel that you could easily be grounded first. That is, you could quickly become a specialized person within that. So if you have flair for, maybe you were doing fashion designing when you were little, or you could draw, you could bring things to life. You were very creative, right? Yes, why not? You could become a motion designer, graphic designer, right? You could become, which are all components that fit into what we do in software, because I'm more of the software product manager, not the hardware, right? And from there on, you can then space out that, oh, okay, I'm not even doing product designing anymore. I want to focus on just animations, right? I want to be able to do stuff that will wow you with just 5 seconds clips, right? So yes, those are now things you can broaden your horizon around. But then I would advise that when you're starting, start from somewhere that you could get grounded in. So my advice to my new business that are coming into products is product management, which I usually tell them is, guys, do you already know some pain points about products? Because at the end of the day, you develop a product, it's not just going to be for yourself. Because yes, you can develop a product for yourself, maybe for your family, for your friends and loved ones. But at the end of the day, you want it to sell, you want it to hit the market, you want people to actually experience that solution in a way that is also solve that issue for them. So you already have some of this. If you don't have flair for solving things, why then are you trying to get into product management? You could just be a front-end engineer, or you could be a mobile developer. All you are getting is the requirements, and you are bringing it to life. Whether the products, and I'm saying this loosely, pardon me, whether the product is successful or not, some engineers don't care. So far they've built it, they've added it to their portfolio. They don't care whether it is impactful or not. But if you're coming into product management, if you're coming into what other role, maybe project management also, right? You want to ensure that you have passion for the success of that business and operation, such that you are driving it to be successful. Not just that you are building it to solve a solution, but you are also driving it such that other people can experience that solution. So yes, you have to know all of these things before you say, oh, I want to become a data analyst, right? So yes, so those are, or I want to become an ML engineer or an AI engineer. Yeah, so that's it for me basically. I'm thinking I've
Thank you so
extended
much.
more
I
than
like
our
that you
time.
touched on Yes, but before we go, I like that you touched on how past experiences, because most times when we have students coming, they talk about how they studied, say, engineering, and now they want to do data analytics, and they don't know if there is a connection. It's almost like your past experience is erased, but you answered it in a way that kind of reaffirm that what you studied in school might not be what you're doing now, or what you did for business might not be what you're doing now, but those knowledge compounds over time. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for joining us today's episode. I'm so glad you're here, and it was really nice talking to you. So for everyone watching, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Our current course is still ongoing. If you are interested in learning any in-demand tech skill, send us a message. We are on all over all the social media platforms, so you can just send us a message. We also offer free consulting. Thank you so much, Shegun.
Thank you, Joma. And what you guys are doing is what we need more in this space. And yeah, wish you guys success.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.